Hello Year 7, Mr. Lightfoot here. We're going to do another lesson on ratio. I have introduced the idea of ratio in previous lessons. So this lesson, we're going to recap ratio as a fraction. We're going to perform a few calculations involving ratio when one of the quantities is known, and we're going to share by a given ratio. Okay, so before we do that, there is a starter question. I'd like you to read the question, pause the video, have a think about answering it, and I'll go through the question and answer in a second. Okay. So hopefully you've at least answered the first part of the question, but if you read the question and think about it, it's not that difficult to answer, okay? Because the numbers are relatively straightforward. Right, A. What fraction of the class are girls? Now I introduced this idea previously of writing a ratio as a fraction and vice versa. Okay, so if we look at A, we've got girls to boys in that order, girls to boys, and it's 4 to 5. Okay, girls to boys in the ratio of 4 to 5. Okay, and in previous lessons we said that to find the denominator of the fraction, we added the ratios together. Okay, so 4 plus 5 is 9, so the denominator of the fractions becomes 9. 4 parts of that 9 are girl, and 5 parts of that 9 are boys. Okay, so to write this fraction as a ratio and vice versa, that's how we do it. Okay. Then we come to B. There are 15 boys in the class. How many girls are in the class? Okay, this does actually link to this outcome here, where we've got part of the information and we need to know the second part of the information. Okay, so I've written it down here. Girls to boys is 4 to 5, and we have 15 boys in the class. Okay, so in effect we're looking for this number here, the number of girls. Okay. So all I've done is I've asked myself, what have I done to 5 to get it to 15? Okay, so what if I multiplied 5 by to get it to 15? The answer is 3. What I do to one side, I do to the other. So 4 multiplied by 3 is 12, so there must be 12 girls in that class. Okay, so looking at this outcome here, we've achieved that outcome. That is all we're doing. Okay, the numbers might get a bit more interesting, but that's a calculation involving ratio when part of the quantity is known. Okay, so let's move on. As always, I've got a big target question. Pause the video, read the question, and have a think about answering that question. Okay, so once again, I'll go through the answers at the end, and hopefully we all get the right answer together. Okay, so right, we're going to look at this outcome here. We've already covered this, write a ratio as a fraction. We're just going to look at it a bit more of a complicated question. Okay, and a typical question looks like this. You'll notice that in ratio questions there are always really a lot of words. Okay, they do tend to write a lot for ratio questions. However, all we have to do is just read the question carefully, have a think about what the question's saying, and then have a think about what it's actually asking us. Okay, so 3 business partners, Kevin, John and Margaret, put money into a business in the ratio 3, 4, 5. Okay, so they've invested some money into a business in that ratio. Okay, so just looking at the ratio, we can clearly see that Margaret invests more money than Kevin and John. Okay, they shared the profits in the same ratio. So profit is essentially money after costs. Okay, and they're going to share it in that ratio. Last year, Margaret made 3,400 out of the profits. Okay, so if I was to write that in a simplified form, mathematically with ratio, that's what it would look like. Kevin, John, Margaret, ratio of 3, 4, 5. Margaret last year got £3,400. The question, how much did Kevin and John make last year? Okay, the question is simply, how much money do they get? Okay, now clearly there's some sort of link between those two numbers. Okay, and like the start question, we've simply got to find that number. Okay, so pause the video, have a think about how you would find this number here. Good. Hopefully you envisage doing some sort of division. Okay, 5 multiplied by something is 3,400. The opposite of multiplying is dividing. So if I divide 3,400 by 5, I'm going to get this magic number here. Okay, I'm going to get this magic number here. So 3,400 divided by 5 is 680. You may or may not, in a question, get a calculator to do this. Who knows? But 3,400 divided by 5 is 680. So this magic number here is 680. Okay, so 5 multiplied by 680 is 3,400. Okay, and we've already stated several times that what we do to one side, we must do to every other side. Okay, because this is a constant, this doesn't change. Okay, so if I multiply 680 by 3 and then 680 by 4, I'm going to presumably get the profit amount of Kevin and John. Okay, so 3 multiplied by 680 is 2,040, and 4 multiplied by 680 is 2,720. And this looks right, doesn't it? I mean, if you look at the ratios, Kevin invested the least amount, Margaret invested the maximum amount. Okay, and John was in the middle, which, look at the numbers, is true. Okay. So with these type of questions where part of the information is known, my only goal is to find this number here. Okay? So 5 multiplied by something is 3,400. The opposite of multiplying is dividing, and I get my magic number. Okay? I apply my magic number to the other ratios, and I get the answer. Okay? Good. So, looking at the outcomes, we've written a ratio as a fraction, and we've performed a calculation twice now where part of the information is known. Okay, so I would suggest strongly that when you do answer these questions, write the question out as a ratio and write all the information in so you're not confused. Okay, if you have spaces here, that means that we're after this number. Okay, because some of the questions might look similar, you've got to read them. Okay, so we've done that, which is good. We're now just going to look at sharing a quantity by a ratio. Okay, so please feel free to pause the video, write the examples down, and think about how I got the maths. Okay, right, we're going to share by a given ratio. Now, it does look like there's a lot of maths here, but I've tried to explain it in 2 different ways. And hopefully, this second way will make sense if I explain the first way. Okay? So, a typical question. And you can see it looks very different than this question. Okay? With this question, I knew part of the information. Now, I know all the information, so my job is to divide £150 in the ratio of 1 to 5. Okay, so what I've tried to do is explain this using fractions. First, the ratio of 1 to 5 can be written as 1/6 to 5/6. Okay, we add the ratios, we get 6, so the denominator is 6. This person here, or individual, gets 1 of those sixths. This person gets 5/6. Okay, so this question here is actually asking us to find a sixth of 150 and 5/6 of 150. Okay, so 1/6 of 150, thinking back to when we did multiplying fractions. Okay, we've covered that. 1 multiplied by 150 divided by 6 gives me 25. If I just simply multiply that by 5, because I want 5 of them, I get 125. Okay, so what I'm actually doing, I don't know if you can see this pen or not. Let me get rid of that. Let me go a different colour. Okay, if I write the ratio down, this is actually what the money looks like. Okay, so when we get a question like this, it's just a shorthand way of writing a fraction of an amount, and that's all it is. Okay, so if we look at the answer here, 25 and 125, if I add them up, I get 150, which is what I should get because that's all the money I've got. Okay, so this person here gets 1/6, this person here gets 5/6. Okay, now that is an excellent way of answering this question. Okay, but if I look at the shortened way of doing this, I can perhaps save a bit of time. Okay, so if we look at what I've done over here, what I did first is that I added the ratios. The ratios 1 to 5, and I added them to get the 6. Okay, so I've got the denominator. What I did then to find 1/6 was just divide 150 by 6 to get my 25. So if I do 150 divided by 6, I get what 1 share equals. That's 1 share. Okay, this person has 1 of them, this person has 5 of them. Okay, so 1 share is 25. 5 shares will be 5 times 25, which is 125. Excuse me. Okay, so I've done all the maths here that I did over here, just shortened it a bit into sort of 3 easy steps. I add the ratios, I divide by the quantity, and then I multiply each side by the answer I get there. Okay, either of these methods gets me the answer, and it gets me the answer because they're the same. 1/6 and 5/6 is the same as the ratio 1 to 5. Okay, they're the same. So what I want you to start seeing is a ratio as a fraction and a fraction as a ratio. That'll become very important when we sit our GCSEs. Okay, so I'll leave these on the screen. I'd like you to have a go at answering this question, okay, by using either method. Just be careful because the numbers are interesting. Okay, so if you want to use a calculator, please do. Okay, pause the video, give it a go, and I'll go through the answers in a second. Good. Okay, so you could use either method and hopefully it would arrive at the same answer. Okay, now one thing that I've got to be careful of here is that I know that 75 divided by 12 will give me a decimal. Okay, so we just have to be a bit careful when we're dealing with these type of numbers. Okay, so I use this method because it's easier to write down and it's easy to calculate actually if I have a calculator in front of me. So the first thing I did is that I added the ratios. Whatever they are, I added them. So 7 plus 5 is 12. Okay, so in effect I'm saying that my denominator is out of 12, or there's 12 parts that I'm going to share into this 75. Okay, what I'm then going to do is divide the amount by the denominator essentially to find 1/12 of 75. So 75 divided by 12 is 6.25 kilograms. So 1 share is 6.25 kilograms. Okay, that's 1 share. So 1/12 is 6.25. Oh, that's a bad 5. You get the gist. Okay, now looking at the ratios, this person here has 7 shares. This person here has 5 shares. Okay, 1 share is 6.25. This person has 7. This person has 5. So I've got to do some multiplying. Okay, so step 3, if you like, is me multiplying out the ratios. Okay, so 7 multiplied by 6.25 gives me that. 5 multiplied by 6.25 gives me that. Okay, and that looks right because this share here is greater than this share. And if I add them together, 43.75 add 31.25, it will give me 75. Okay, so it's not intrinsically difficult, we're just going to be a bit careful. Okay, now I could use this method for this question. You know, I could write it out as fractions, but I technically have. This is what I've done. So I've added the ratios to find the denominator. I then find 1/12 of 75, which gives me 6.25. Remember, that's one share. This person has 7 of them, this person has 5 of them. Okay, so again, feel free to pause the video and write down the examples with the math. So make sure you know what I've done. Okay, good. Okay, as always, on our virtual learning platform, you're looking for year 7, and make sure you select the right date, because some of you aren't selecting the right date. Select the right date, so this will be the 22nd of June. Okay, year 7, and here there'll be the 2 worksheets to complete. Okay, again on MathsWatch there are a few questions, again not many. I want to keep these to the point, so there are 2 questions on this outcome, and there are 3 questions on this outcome here. Okay, any problems, I want you to drop me an email and ask about help. Okay, lastly, because we've gone through the lesson now, we should all be able to answer this question. Okay, I want you to be very careful. I know that it's got lots of words in it, so it would be beneficial if you write the question out and think about which outcome we're going to use. Do I have all the information, or do I only have part of the information? Okay, so write the question out, pause the video, and have a think about answering it. Okay. Okay, so I would write the question out first. Okay, so there's a mental test. I hope I do this right. There's a non-calculator test, and there's a calculator test. 1, 3, 4. Okay, and it says the whole exam, not a bit of it, the whole exam is out of 120 marks. Okay, so this, if we're going to look at it, is this outcome here. Okay, I've not got part of the information, I've got whole of it. Okay, so looking at the answers, I add the ratios together. So 1 plus 3 plus 4 gives me 8. So essentially the denominator is out of 8. Okay, so my job now is to find 1/8. If I do 120 divided by 8, I'm going to get 1/8. So 1/8 of 120 is 15. So remember that that 15 is one share. Okay, this person has one share, this person has 3 shares, not person, paper. This paper has 1 share, this paper has 3 shares, and this paper has 4 shares. Okay, so in essence, I'm going to multiply my ratios by 15. Okay, so 1 times 15 is 15, 3 multiplied by 15 is 45, and 4 multiplied by 15 is 60. So you can clearly see that the calculator paper has a higher weighting than the mental test paper. Okay, so hopefully you got that. Have I got the questions? Once again, if you do struggle, drop me an email and I'll send you some pointers. Thank you.